Gonna read one of 50 Shades of Gary, ever way. 50 Shades of Gary, starring me, Gary Poland. That's spelled get out right, yeah? Gary, and Poland is spelled put up with letter L-I-M-D, R-S-I, like the shop, but not spelled the same. Well, 50 Shades of Gary. Chapter 4, Gary Potter and the Philosopher's Stifford. The year was 2001. Atomic Mitten was #1 in the charts. Shrek was a box office hit in cinemas across the world. And Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden, had smashed down the Twin Towers, killing 3,000 people. No one! It was a peaceful Saturday morning in suburban England. In Private Drive, a boy was waking up, but little did he know this would be the most amazeballs day of his life. Gary Potter waking up in his bed under the stairs at number 4. He stretched out and yawned, and put his glasses on. Gary had always been a bit of an outsider. All his life he'd been teased for his chunky figure and his glasses. Kids at school had often called him names such as Gummo, Nerdface, and Fat Specky Bastard. Gary didn't mind that, but he hated it when he was teased for the scar he had on his forehead, just under his fringe. Gary had survived a car crash when he was a child in which both his parents were left dead as a donut on the motorway, just past Junction 10 on the M6. They had been out at a 40th at the ECC Sports and Social Club, where they had been on their slash for a good 11 hours, when they decided to go for a was on the motorway for a bit of a laugh. Mr. Potter had been impressing Mrs. Potter by doing wanker signs out the window and overtaking on the inside whilst flapping the life out of his Mina Metro. As a result of the crash, Gary was left with a scar that throbbed and hurt every now and then. And of course, his parents was dead as well, which was a real bastard. He could live with the pain and scar, but what Gary really hated was that the scar was in the shape of a penis and ball bag. It led to him being called names like Bollock Brain, Dickhead, and Ballbag Forehead. Ever since that day, Gary had been to Sentley with his auntie and uncle and fat little horrible cousin. What was all a bunch of arseholes? Typical muggles, Gary thought to himself. As they sat down for breakfast, a postman pushed a letter through the door, and Gary's uncle said, "Go and get that, you little wet head," said Gary's cousin, Dudley, who was named after the town in the Black Country, where 30% of all crime committed is violence. Gary really wanted to say something back, but his uncle would have fucking wailed him. So he gave over. Instead, he just had to be satisfied with the fact that for the past 5 years, Gary had been using his cousin's toothbrush to clean the nog cheese from under his clothes. Gary was an early starter, and he had a right length on him. "Well, what is this letter then, boy?" Gary's uncle asked. And Gary said, "It's a letter for me." He said, "Well, open it," said Gary's auntie, Taniqua. Gary opened the letter and read it out loud. It said, "Dear Gary Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all the necessary books and equipment you will need." "You're going to stop me, aren't you?" said Gary to his uncle. How about we'll save a fucking bomb on the lecky, I'll still be able to claim your carer's allowance, and a corner snooker table in your bedroom. What on earth will you fit a snooker table in the cupboard under the stairs, said Gary. Shut your mouth and eat your carpal sandwich, you boy, said Gary's uncle. Now, the next day, Gary was off to King's Cross Station to catch a train to take him to Hogwarts School of Magic. Mr. Dursley had bought all the magic shit he needed online and paid for next day deliveries, not to scare away. He had all the equipment a young wizard could need. A big line of cape, some potions, mainly love potions, that give you a stiffy for hours, a cauldron for him to get his cook on, and a litre of lube, just in case. As Gary arrived at King's Cross, he couldn't believe how busy it was, and how pig-ignorant London bastards are. Who would want to live in a shithole like this when you've got the West Midlands up the road, only 2 hours away, where the houses are affordable? Where the houses are affordable and everybody's friendly. They're robbing fucking Danny Dyer-faced gets. Gary thought to himself as he said it out loud at the top of his voice. Just as Gary was slagging off London to himself out loud, he was startled suddenly by a family walking past. Gary had never seen anything like it. Their hair was the same colour as Foxy's skin. What is called fur. It looked to Gary as if somebody had turned foxes into human beings. I'm Ron Weasley, pleased to meet you, said the youngest boy, spotting that Gary was a wizard as well. I'm Gary Potter, pleased to meet you too, said Gary, staring at the boy in amazement. So you're the famous Gary Potter. Is it true what they say about you? Really? It is, said Gary. He's fucking massive. The boy looked very impressed and a little bit jealous, if I'm being honest. He should be, thought Gary. Not many 11-year-old boys have got 9 inches even when it's freezing cold and on a soft drink. There was something strange about the boy. It made Harry feel quite queasy. Your hair, it's red. It's red, interrupted the little carrot-top's father. Technically, we prefer to be called straw-blonde blonde. Do you know straw-blonde people are one of the most discriminated against people on the planet today? I know her. Gary thought to himself at the top of his voice. Anyway, one's dad, what was called Chris Evans Weasley, said, we must hurry, boys, we're going to miss the train, follow me. They darted through King's Cross Station through the hustle and bustle of the crowds, and seemingly nobody seemed to notice they were all dressed in capes wearing wizard shit, carrying elves and all that bollocks. Except for one man who was wearing an Adidas tracksuit and swigging a can of Stella Artois. As they walked past him, the fat drunk athlete shouted, fucking Grebos. Kiss my ring, please, Gary wittily replied. The girls had always had a thing for Gary, some because of his witty reports, but mostly because of his massive charger. Here it is, said Mr. Weasley. Platform 9 3/4. Don't be fucking daft, said Gary. How can that be here? Where's the train? To board Hogwarts Express, you have to run through that pillar made of bricks. Have you off your fucking head? Whispered Gary. I know I've got glasses and I'm not the brightest, but I think you're a few fucking sandwiches short of a toolbox. One looked at Harry and said, I swear down blood. Well, I don't believe you. I'm going to make sure, said Gary. What do you mean, said Ron. Watch this, said Gary. Just as Gary said that, an older man was walking past, and he had an old black coat on a flat cap and was pulling a granny trolley behind him, moving at least 1 mile an hour. Fucking shove! From nowhere, Gary launched the old man towards the wall with all his might. The man went past the wall and landed on the floor, skidding like when Arnold shoves that woman down the corridor for busting his glasses in Terminator 2. You bloody idiot, said the old man. Sorry, I was just rushing to catch my train and I bumped into you. Please let me help you up. Get off me, you hooligan, said the old man. He was not happy at all. He was whacked off. The old man pushed himself down and started to walk off again, muttering, bring back national service, but before he could finish his sentence, fucking shove! Gary shoved him again towards the old wall, but this time he didn't miss the wall or crash into it. The old man vanished into it. Fuck me! Said Gary, it's true! And all of a sudden he charged towards the wall, and all of a sudden Gary was on the Hogwarts Express. Gary couldn't believe he was on the Hogwarts Express. It had such history. It wasn't just being known for the train to Hogwarts, it was also known of the Hogwarts Quidditch hooligan gang, who called themselves the Hogwarts Express crew. A bit like West Ham United's hooligan firm, the Intercity Fulham. The Hogwarts Express crew, or Heck as they were known, would travel the length and breadth of the country, fighting other Quidditch hooligans to see who could be the top boys in the country. Well, instead of punching the fuck out of each other, they would bust each other's broomsticks and snap each other's wands in half. And whack each other's well, saying, "Where you bastard!" Gary and Ron found themselves on a carriage and sat down. The carriage door slid open, and in walked a girl what had her head in a book. "What's that you're reading?" asked Ron. "Oh, it's a book written by a man called 50 Shades of Gary, who's got a family of foxes living with him. My name is Hermione, and I'm going to marry him when I am legal and old enough." The three of them then talked excitedly about what invited them at Hogwarts, and still suddenly, with no warning at all, Hogwarts came into view. Within no time at all, they were sat on the chairlift on the way to Hogwarts. It was a bit like the one at Douglas Urban Castle. Quite forgotten enough. As they disembarked from the chair, there was a huge monstrous man standing there waiting for them. "He's a giant," said Ron. "He's humongous," said Hermione. "Fuck me, it's built like a bastard big shithouse," said Gary. "Welcome to Hogwarts," said the giant. "My name is Cracker. Well, you can call me Hagrid. Follow me." The building was huge. The corridor were lighted by really big matches on the walls, and friendly ghosts round them. "Oh my God," shouted Ron, who stopped suddenly in his tracks. "Look at those stairs! They're moving! I've never seen anything like it! It's called the bastard escalator, you daft cunt! They've got loads in the bowling," said Gary. As they made their way up the escalator, Gary noticed the photos on the wall were moving. There was one of dogs playing pool in a pub. A Yorkshire Terrier had potted a black by accident. He didn't take well to me, so he smashed a fucking chair across an Alsatian's back. Just like the talisman, Gary thought to himself. Soon enough, they were outside their living quarters. "These are your rooms. Do not leave them during the night." Sorry, forgot the accent. "Keep away from the Forbidden Forest, and for Christ's sake, don't use the kettles. People have been pissing in them for years." And there were rumours at one point that one of the school's most beloved wizards had taken a shit in one. He was a right character, that Paul Daniels, said Hagrid. "Gosh me, it was a right nightmare, that Paul Daniels." "Good night, Hagrid," said Gary, heading towards his digs. "It's not good night for you, Mr. Potter," said Hagrid. "There's a professor who would like to speak to you before you go to bed. I'm instructed to take you to her living quarters. She's very excited." "Oh," thought Gary, who instantly started to feel a bit of movement in his palms. "Well, let's not disappoint her then, Hagrid. Take me to her living quarters." They arrived outside the professor's room, and mop, Hagrid knocked on the door. "Come in," said the professor. They walked in the room, and the professor was already lying across her bed. "So you're the famous Gary Potter?" She got off my bed and walked up to Gary, and with her hand she lifted up his fingers, revealing his scar. So it is true. You do have the scar, and is it true you have a massive... Yep. Gary nodded slowly. He knew he was on for it. They couldn't contain themselves any longer. Professor Dame Maggie Smith pulled Gary towards her bed, taking off his jumper whilst climbing on top of him. Why the fuck is she wearing my jumper? Gary thought to himself. No wonder they offered to take our luggage, the robbing gates. Gary thought to himself as he said it out loud at the top of his voice. But Gary didn't care about the jumper, or how old the Professor Dame Maggie Smith was. He was about to get balls deep in Hogwarts. The Professor stood up at the end of the bed and lifted her robe over her head, slid down her knickers and revealed her wizard sleeve. Christ me, shouted Gary. It smells like a fucking Cornish beef smuggler's on fucking day. But Gary couldn't care less. And before you know it, one thing led to another, and before you know it, one thing led to another, and Gary was boning the life out of her. Their bodies entwined, and they became one. They were just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl, year after year. Oh yeah, baby, oh yeah, baby, oh, 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 fuck that pussy, said Gary. Not all at once, Gary. It's all too much at once, said the Professor, so Gary pulled the broomstick back out. They were going at it like rabbits. What was making sex? As Gary carried on knocking the back out of Professor Dame Maggie Smith, he couldn't help but notice that the wardrobe next to the bed was rattling furiously. He did his best to ignore it, but he got louder and louder and he kept shaking and eventually it crashed. He toppled over, breaking into pieces on the floor, and out stepped a wizard with a long grey beard, half-moon spectacles, and a todger in his hand, what looked like a slug that had had salt thrown all over it. It was the headmaster of Hogwarts, Albus Dumbledore. We've all been waiting for the famous Gary Potter, and it's not difficult to see why, said the headmaster as he looked at Gary's batter crease and tried to get a glimpse of his massive tackle. But Gary wasn't that way inclined, so he let out a little fart to put Dumbledore off. And it worked to an extent because a little bit of shit came out as well. Dumbledore moved slowly backwards away from Gary, and the Professor, who was absolutely fucking loving it. Dumbledore stopped suddenly, as he thought he'd bumped into the wall, but he hadn't bumped into the wall. He'd bumped into Hagrid, who had been standing there the whole time, mesmerised by how Gary had been shagging the Professor. Hagrid was now naked from the waist down, and the waist up, and was standing proud in all his glory. His cock and bollocks was hairy as fuck. He had dried spunk in his pubes. What looked like somebody had found a bucket of superglue all over the floor in a Turkish barber's. Hagrid, said Dumbledore, shocked and caught unaware. Not tonight, sir. Tonight you can call me Hardgrid. And quick as a flash, he pulled the back of Dumbledore's robes over his head, bent him over, and rogered him silly. This is magic, said Dumbledore, as he tried to bite his bottom lip, but only got a mouthful of beard instead. They all fucked and sucked, and it went on big style. The room fucking stank. And eventually they all blew their loads at the same time. Hagrid let out a huge roar as he ejaculated, "You're a wizard, Harry!" as he emptied himself into the headmaster. What now resembled a cast member of Last of the Summer Wine after a fall down the stairs. That was amazing, said Hagrid, with a cheeky grin on his face. They was all absolutely bollocks. I could do with a fag, said Dumbledore. What, already? Hagrid said, laughing. Don't be homophobic, said Gary, who had always been very political correct. Here, we can smoke me, said Gary, and he pulled a piece of straw, what had came off the broomstick from Professor Maggie Smith's minge, and lit it up. The bedroom doors opened up, and the old man Gary had shoved earlier onto the entrance of platform 9 3/4 walked in, and he said, "Is this Milton Keynes?" And they all burst out laughing. And Gary says, "Who wants fucking twos on the list?"